While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Hello and welcome to A Free Solution on WYSL in Rochester. My name is Craig Miles. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a hot second since you heard from me. I've been doing my thing. Larry and Tim and Kevin been keeping you company, been keeping you busy. Usually you hear Larry on Tuesdays, but today is petition day. It is the day that he gets to go to the state and beg permission for you to be able to vote for him. And able to do that, in order to do that, rather, he has to get 65,000 signatures. Well, that's the safe number. It's actually 30 or 45,000 that the state requires, which is also absurd because I think if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you get to have 15,000 or something like that, maybe even less. That's across the state. And then you already have a bunch of people that love you because you're you're the R or the D. So you literally send a tweet and they're like, yeah, I got you. I got all your signatures right here. And they get to start a month early. So they get to take all the signatures first, and then it's time for the third parties. I could go on and on for an entire show about how ridiculous the entire petitioning process is and how it is built only for you to keep people off of the ballot and not actually for any other reason. But that is not the topic of today. That's just what Larry is up to today. He is submitting all of his petition signatures. We're hoping they don't get challenged, but if they do, well, we'll keep on fighting. We'll keep on putting effort into just existing, where the Democrats and the Republicans are allowed to do whatever they would like. We just gotta work hard to just have a seat at the table. And unfortunately, that's the story with third parties here in New York, and that's the story with third parties across the country. People think, oh, you just run. It's easy enough. You just run. No, you don't just run. If you've got the right stamp, you just run. But that comes with a lot of strings. So unfortunately, it's not as easy as just running. It is built for the Democrats and it is built for the Republicans, and they're all one big happy family, no matter what they tell you. So that kind of gets into the topic for today, which is accountability. What happened to that? Do we have that anymore? Is anybody ever accountable for anything? Seems like there's a mess here in this state. Seems like there's a mess in this country. And the Democrats 1 year tell you they're going to fix it, and then 2 years later, the Republicans tell you you're going to fix it, and 2 years later, 4 years later, back and forth. Does your life get any better? Usually doesn't. Unfortunately. I'm getting some comments from the chat here. Let me know if that fixed the echo. People say there's a lot of echoing going on the live feed, and they're asking, please, for the love of God, fix the echo. I think I've taken care of that for you folks listening online. Go ahead and throw a message in the chat and let me know, because that's the last thing I want to do is upset anyone who's taken the time to listen to A Free Solution. Hopefully we offer some solutions, and the worst thing we could do is to muddy up the message. Someone chimes in here, might be wrong, mentions that apparently I was right in the way that I fixed the echo. It's all better. So thank you, might be wrong, for letting me know. Back on track. Accountability. What is that? Apparently it's whatever you say it is. Accountability these days, I think, kind of looks like point the finger at the other guy and say, well, at least I'm not as horrible as he is. So you want accountability, or you want to be angry at the other guy? And a lot of people say, I want to be angry at that other guy. He's the one that messed up. I'll forgive you for messing up because you're my team. How about we just let other people not mess up? Or when they do, hold them accountable. And when they say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'll fix it. We say, okay, please do. And then they fix it, or they don't. And then we say, I'm done with you. Unfortunately, what happens, I'll give you the example of New York State.
Democrats do Democrat things. Republicans, I'm talking establishment again. I'm talking to people that run the country, the state. I'm not talking about everyday Joes and Janes out there. I'm talking about the people with their hands on the levers of the government. Democrats here in New York State, they do Democrat things. And if you're a Republican, you complain to your representative, your Republican representative, you say, those Democrats are ruining my state. They did all these Democrat things that I absolutely hate. And the Republicans say, yeah, well, it's one party rule. We can't really do too much. They control everything. And then they send you emails. You got to vote for us. You got to vote for us to protect us from the Democrats, to stop them from ruling this state. How's that worked for the past 20 years? I'm going to pick on you, Republican voters now. I'm going to pick on you a little bit and say, how has voting for Republicans in statewide elections? I'm not talking your county. I'm not talking your town. I'm talking statewide elections. When is the last time a Republican did anything worth anything in the past 20 years in a statewide election? The answer, I believe, it is my opinion, is none of them. Who won? Nobody won. It's been Democrats. They've been in control for 20 years. And it's the same story in other states where Republicans run things. Once you get one party rule in a state, you have no accountability. And then you watch your state dive bomb because nobody's worried about what they do because they don't have to be accountable at the polls. You say, well, if you're a Republican, you say, yeah, I understand those Democrats are just evil and dumb. They just, they do whatever. And I understand you don't have the power. But I got to vote for you because if I don't, they'll take more power. And if you're a Democrat, you say, I love the way this state's going. I'm gonna tell all my friends how proud I am in New York State. And on and on and on for the past 20 years. Might be wrong. Also, chiming in here says, as long as there's a duopoly, there will be no accountability because they just let each other off the hook in exchange for no accountability in return. I think you're right. Might be wrong. Might not be wrong about that one. Yeah, I don't even know if it's letting off the hook because they were never on the hook to begin with. That's the thing. You assume letting off the hook means there is a hook. There's no hook when you're dealing with the duopoly. They are the hook. They are the hook, and they hook it right into your shoulders, and they drag you around with it. That's the hook. There's no hook between them. So, I'm sorry, I'm ranting a lot today about generalities. Let's get into some specifics. Just listen to the headlines at the top of the hour. New Zealand, big ally in the Russia situation. Uncle Joe says so. What? But does New Zealand have a military? I'm sure they do, but they're not anywhere near Russia. They're not anywhere near us. Are they going to send tanks in there? What are they doing? I'm not picking on New Zealand. I mean, Joe, why is that even a thing you're talking about? We're glad to have New Zealand on our side. Okay, how about the gas prices, Joe? How about the fact that I got to pay like $10 a pound for hamburger? How about that? No, Russia, evil. New Zealand, good. Good. Okay, Joe. That's at the national level. More at the national level, the Federal Reserve going to hike interest rates, I hear. The last time they did that back in 2015, there was a little bit of a hiccup, and they said, "Oh, can't do that." And it's the opposite of how they've been fixing all of these upcoming crashes for the past 20 years. They've lowered interest rates every time, and they've backed themselves into a corner because you can't go any lower than zero. So you could start to charge negative interest rates, which means which means not only are they taking away the value of your dollar by printing more money, they're also charging you to hold the money. They can't do that because people will be upset about that. So they're going to raise the interest rates and the economy's going to tank. It's coming. Who's going to be accountable for that? Is it going to be Jerome Powell? No, Jerome Powell is going to have his feet up on a beach somewhere, sipping pina coladas. Is Uncle Joe going to be accountable? He said, this is hearsay. I heard it from somebody that I was talking to, so I didn't actually see Uncle Joe say this. But he said, these gas prices, it's the price that we got to pay to get to green energy. Who's we, Joe? When's the last time you bought gas? When's the last time you did anything with anything that has to do with the average American person? I think George Bush, I think they did this to him back when he was president too. They asked him how much a box of cereal costs, and he was like, I don't know. This is my point to you. This is my point about accountability. Is these people either have their own delusions that they've made up in their brain, or they've gotten delusions from someone else that they just repeat. And they have no idea what life is like for you or for me. But every 2 years and every 4 years, we say, hey, help us out. You're the everyman, right? You know what it's like to be an American. You know my plight. They don't know anything about you, and they couldn't care less because they built a 2-tier system. They built a system with them and with you. And every year, every 2 years, every 4 years, we beg and beg and beg for the scraps. And they fly around in their jets and they say, yeah, we got to pay more for gas because that's how we're going to get green energy. And replace that with anything. Replace that with any topic. Replace it with abortion. Replace it with gun control. Replace it with subject anything. And that's the story. They don't know. They don't care. And they just want to rile you up and distract you. Cuomo was good at it. Hochul's good at it. Well, I don't know if Hochul's good at it. Somebody's good at it, telling her what to say. She's not. She's a swamp creature from way back. My point is, there's no accountability. There's a bunch of people that are going to go to the polls and vote for Kathy Hochul because they're scared of guns, or they're scared of whatever it is that Republicans are going to do. We got to vote for Kathy because she's a Democrat. Except she just gave $590 million or whatever it is to the Buffalo Bills and let 10 kids, a bunch of kids, get shot in Buffalo. And she went there and cried a little bit. She's not doing anything for anybody, but we'll still vote because we're afraid. And we got to stop being afraid. We got to start holding people accountable. That is the solution. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more after the break about all of that. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Free Solution on WYSL.
Your business relies on...
By the way, you do sound a little echoey on the radio, too. Do me a favor and just tap the mic in front of you. I want to make sure that's the one picking you up.
The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help.
It sounds like a mic far away from you is picking you up.
Your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you during the segment, but it doesn't sound as good as you usually do.
Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call
100% better.
At 585-200.
All right, so you can let the people know online. Maybe you got two things working. It's possible maybe we were doing a double feed or something. So.
Innovations. Oh, those injury attorney ads.
Hurt on your couch? Call 555-OUCH.
It's kind of cute watching that injury attorney buying breakfast for a crash test dummy, but while fun is fun, there's nothing amusing about getting your life back together after a personal injury or a motorcycle accident, or when you need defense for a DWI charge. Christopher Johnson takes your case seriously, and you'll feel like you're his only client because when you meet with him, your case gets 100% of his attention. So instead of cute singing jingles and magic phone numbers,
fall out of a tree? Call 33333.
write this number down and keep it with you. 585-415-3803. 415-3803. After all, Christopher Johnson knows you're no dummy. Get individual attention and integrity, experience, and expertise. Put the power of one on your legal team. 415-3803. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson, attorney, personal injury, car or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We could give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Visit vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Rushmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
We are back with a free solution on WYSL. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Craig Miles. I am in for the Larry Sharpe. He is running for governor, and he's out getting the petitions together and submitting them to the state for our permission to be on the ballot so that you can choose somebody else other than the Democrat or the Republican or whatever duopoly person they throw up there. And that's how you get accountability. You got to make them scared for their meal ticket. Make sure that they know if they don't do what is in your best interest, you will not vote for them. It's that simple. It's that simple. And the response to that, people are like, well, they run the elections. So if you just vote harder, obviously they'll just fix the election. They'll just rig the election. And you already saw this with Trump. You already saw this before that with Hillary. You saw it again with Uncle Joe. Every election now, people don't believe the results. So we're kind of close to already not trusting the elections. And the thing with voting for someone other than a Democrat or a Republican is it gets to a certain point where it can't be hidden. If you have 1 million people out there that vote for Larry Sharpe, but they only record 100,000, now people start to say, there's a lot of people that I know that voted for Larry Sharpe. Seems like he should have gotten more than 10%. When you add those third parties in there, it kind of fixes the election fraud debate too, because if you have a movement large enough to vote against the duopoly, if you have enough people that hashtag walk away, if an election is rigged, it becomes very difficult to convince people that it was legitimate. If you have a bunch of other people that didn't vote for candidate A or candidate B, but candidate C, the one that everyone voted for, they only got 5% of the vote when it was millions and millions voting for them. And then people start to question. And then maybe people start to take other actions. That's my answer to the thing about, well, you'll never vote your way out of something. Well, maybe not. Not doing it this way, you won't. But if you vote for a third party, you've got a better chance. That's for sure. So, might be wrong is still giving me audio advice here, but I think I've got him all figured out. We had a few technical difficulties, but if you hear me now, looks like we took care of that. I'm liking all of the interaction in the chat. Got a lot of different comments there. Cuomo created a law to protect himself and hospitals, nursing homes from being sued for malpractice. That's from Stephen. And I think he might be talking about the situation with the nursing home deaths from COVID. And yeah, there was a lot of that throughout the whole COVID situation. A lot of protection for people that were calling shots. There will be no repercussions because while we were dealing with an emergency, we had to take action. We had to be safe. Same thing with the vaccines. Uncle Joe was the one that started the vaccine hesitancy. And then he's like, where's all this vaccine hesitancy coming from? That's a side note. The deal with accountability, though, is the vaccine manufacturers are not accountable for any situations that you find yourself in after taking their vaccine. They have immunity, ironically, from any legal action if the vaccine causes you injury or something like that. I'm not saying it does. I'm saying if it does, Pfizer doesn't have to pony up the cash. There's a lack of accountability right there. So you find rule makers making rules to protect themselves, which is exactly what Steve was getting at with Cuomo and the nursing homes. So it's time to change rule makers. How do you change the rule makers? You vote for a third party. I can't stress it enough. You stop voting for the duopoly. Stop it. Please call in and fight me on this. If you have a good reason why you want to vote for a Republican or for Kathy Hochul in this election, give it to me. Tell me what they're going to do for you. Tell me what any Democrat has done for you in the past 20 years in New York State. And tell me what any, well, you can't. There has been no Republican governor. You can't tell me. So that's the solution is a third party. The solution is Larry Sharpe. The solution is whoever else gets on that ballot as a third party, because right now, with the election process, the way that it's set up, you will vote for the handpicked candidate of the establishment, the one that's going to protect the status quo, the one that's going to make you move out of the state because it's going to be unbearable to live in. Might be wrong, killing it today. Whistleblowers are the only people who should have immunity, in my opinion. I think that's a good take. And it's a coincidence that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about Edward Snowden today. I don't know why I was thinking about Edward Snowden. I remember him fondly every so often. Think about him over there in Russia, evil Russia, protecting Edward Snowden. Oh, those Russians doing all the bad things. Anyway, I was thinking about him today, and I was thinking about how he threw his entire life away. Entire life gone. He had a cushy job with the CIA. He was spying on people, and he didn't feel right about it. But if he had just shut up and went about his business, he'd be 15 years in now, probably at least, to a 25-year career with the CIA. He could have retired with a pension. He could have been kicking his feet up and living the life. And that is what the swamp creatures do. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's it's bigger than us. Just trust the system. That literally, if you read Edward Snowden's book, everyone says, well, he should have gone through the proper channels. He tried. Every time he went to someone, he said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Not us to worry. We just do. It's not, nah. So the proper channels lead to dead ends. Any complaints that you have, they go right into a black hole somewhere, and the government continues to spy on you, or they continue to commit human rights abuses, or they continue to do whatever it is that they do until you have a whistleblower, until you have Edward Snowden step up to the plate and say, hey, did you know that the CIA is warrantlessly bulk collecting this data to use against you? You don't even have to be a terrorist. You're just regular guy. That made a lot of Americans angry. And then we forgot. Why did we forget? Why do we forget every single day when we wake up all the horrible things that have been done to us and for us by the state and federal government? We act like they're not still doing these things. Every day they get up and they do, every night, 24/7, these things are going on and on. And I do think might be wrong, might be right on this one about whistleblowers should have immunity. They should be able to say there are bad things happening here. These things need to come to light. Larry says it all the time. The best disinfectant is sunlight. If you have a cancer in your organization, if you have a whatever, bad culture, bad actions, bad actors, sunlight, shine a light on it. Transparency, transparency, transparency. Unfortunately, you have the left and you have the right establishment putting blinders on the transparency. They're throwing up big old blinds on that sunlight. So you got to rip those off and throw those people out of office. And you do that with the help of the whistleblowers. Accountability comes from the people. Vote for change. That's the change that you need, and we'll talk more about that. We'll get to more of your comments after the break as well. Give me a call, too, 585-346-3000 if you want to talk to me on the phone. It's a free solution on WYSL.
Celebrating 35 years.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Yeah, it's sounding so much better now that you're on the right mic. But yeah, all it takes is one little setting to get messed up.
It's kind of warm and muggy. We'll stay near 70. On Wednesday, a cold front will approach that'll kick up some showers, maybe a few thundery downpours. Could be a local strong to severe storm, so we got to keep an eye to the sky for that. Still muggy in the 80s, much cooler, drier. On Thursday, we'll have highs back into the 60s and low 70s. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
WYSL.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods, bird feeders, and wild bird food, plus garden tools, quality grass seed, and a great selection of dry shod boots. Buy 10 bags of quality wild bird food, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products from Poland Grains. Find everything for your pet from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, beds, crates, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have. Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. Choose from premium local products like Firefly, dairy, goat soaps, and lotions. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget your two-legged pets with River Hat 1,000 Island cheese and great flavors, including the new 12-year-old cheddar, plus Chef James bourbon meat sauce. Once again, nut butters and Nunday mustards. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply. West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Take it, Tony.
How's that?
Terrific, man. Hold on. Hello.
Honey, we need help. The sump pump is broken and the basement's flooded.
Oh, man, now I really got the blues.
What's the skinny, Pete?
Water all over the basement. What am I going to do, brother?
Call Taylor, 500 help. Their plumbing experts will fix things up and have you singing in no time.
500 help? Now that's a cool number.
I think I'm really getting it, man.
Call Taylor, 500 help.
When you are looking for a job that has meaning, one that makes a difference, then the Mary Cariola Center wants to hear from you. The Mary Cariola Center helps children and young adults with developmental disabilities and complex medical needs. They're now hiring teachers, teaching assistants, aides, and more. You get competitive wages, good benefits, and the opportunity to grow a career filled with challenges and rewards. Apply today at marycariola.org. Click on employment. That's Mary, CARIOLA.org.
Cobblestone Capital Advisors, LLC offers comprehensive financial management services throughout Western New York and nationwide. Cobblestone's an active supporter.
Okay, we got a caller, Keith from Rochester.
Mary Cariola Children's Center, Wilmot Cancer Center, Holy Childhood.
You've had Keith on before, haven't you?
Children's Hospital. Since 1986, Cobblestone Capital Advisors has been.
At least he doesn't fight with you like he does Kevin.
Its community. Cobblestone Capital Advisors, focused on one goal. Yours.
It's one of the most essential things on earth. Being cared for close to home.
Yep.
UR Medicine brings specialty care to the people of Geneseo
yeah, I hear you. Hang
and the
on.
surrounding area. So you don't have to travel to Rochester for a mammogram, heart care, or even outpatient surgery. To learn more about UR Medicine services in your community, go to geneseo.urmc.edu. UR Medicine, medicine of the highest order.
The tradition continues at the National Warplane Museum Geneseo Air Show, featuring the return of
Sorry, I thought I had another call coming in, but it was spam or robocall.
Enjoy family fun at either the
Yeah, we get those too.
missionaries. Tickets available at GeneseoAirShow.com.
That's how many times Eagle Vale Golf Course has been voted Rochester's best. Whether it's for golf, dining, business, or pleasure, Eagle Vale is for you. Visit them today at eaglevale.com or call 377-5200.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
We are back on A Free Solution on WYSL. Getting a lot of comments in the chat. Got a caller to get to as well. I'm not going to take that quite yet. I'm going to throw up a couple comments first. Patricia Blanchard says, how do I prove who I voted for? There is no way to argue about the result. Oh, sorry. Let me start over. How do I prove who I voted for? There is no way to argue about the results. I did vote third party in 2016. The results said no people voted third party and got no votes at my polling place and had no receipt to prove if I did vote third party. Yeah, Patricia. Who knows why these things happen? Who knows if it's intentional? Who knows if it was an accident? You voted for a third party, and the results from the polling place show no third party. I'm gonna leave this caller hanging for just a second because I got some stuff to say about this. The answer to your question, Patricia, is blockchain technology. With cryptocurrency and all of this, you can literally see every single transaction ever made with these cryptocurrencies. You could do the same thing with voting. They could do it on your phone. You could do it on your computer, whatever. You could make it secure. I don't know enough about it because I'm not technologically advanced enough in my brain to understand exactly how it works. But I know you can make that stuff last indelibly and that we could make it easy. And by the next election, we could have verifiable receipts for all of these things. The question becomes, is that what we want? Well, now I don't get to obfuscate things a little bit. What's interesting to me, and this is the thing that I wanted to get to, is in your local elections, with your local board of elections, when you vote, the ballots are picked up by the county sheriff, and they're locked in a room. At least this is how it works in my county. They're locked in this room, and the only people with access to that room is the chair of the Democrat Party, is the chair of the Republican Party, and is the county sheriff. Well, wait a minute. They aren't the only ones running in those elections. Where's the key for the Libertarian? Where is that key? There is no key. And that is a microcosm for the whole process. It's all set up in 100,000 different ways for only Democrats and only Republicans. So the accountability comes with a different way. We could even make an app on the phone. You could make a parallel app that had nothing to do with elections, but was run by some other private organization for transparency. They could make the transparent, or they could make the technology, the blockchain technology. If you're listening, figure out how to do this, because you could go to the poll, you could vote, and then you could vote on this app, and then we could check, we could cross-reference the results from the national, state, local, whatever elections and this app. And then, 100,000 more people voted for this person than it says in which one's right. Now we have a conversation. The point is, today, there is no conversation. It's trust the results no matter what. So we have to find a different way to actually peer into these things instead of just trusting the system blindly. So that's my answer to you, Patricia. I've got Keith on the line from Rochester right now. He's been listening patiently. Sorry to make you wait so long, but I had to take care of that one comment. How are you doing today, Keith?
I say bring on that new technology, but the answer for you and Patricia is things are going to have to melt down a lot more. Way too many Americans are comfortable, and that right there is the reason they will not vote third party. They don't know what they're getting into. Americans, to use the old-fashioned term, have to get riled up By example, during the Vietnam War, the Vietnam protesters were out in the streets. Whatever anyone thought of their politics, at least they got out there and made their feelings and emotions known. Try and get Americans with their larger body mass today index up and out of their sofas. Americans, sir, have been beaten down, and that is the answer. Americans have been doxxed, afraid of losing their jobs. They will not come out of their cocoons to vote for the third party. They need to know in advance what they're getting to, whether you're registered Democrat or Republican. I myself, and you can comment on this, I'm a registered conservative, the weak, as I'm calling it, the 400,000 member New York State Conservative Party. I'm solid conservative, but what have the conservatives done except hold on to the tailcoats of their Republican brethren? If you're a 400,000 member party, conservative, by example, you ought to be able to show New York Staters what conservatives, by example, can do. My fellow conservatives have failed drastically in that. That is the answer for your Libertarian Party. Unlike the conservatives, you have to show in advance, if you're going to move people off of their registries as Democrats and Republicans, you Libertarians have to show what you're going to do to make these too comfortable Americans move to your side. That's the answer right there. Things have not gotten bad enough. Things have not truly melded down that are going to move comfortable Americans out of their cushy surroundings. In other words, they know, in quotations, what they're going to get with both major parties. I don't know if they know what you are going to do for them to that sufficient extent that they will, again, move their party designation and join, in your case, the Libertarians. You have to show them succinctly what you're going to do for them, and even as good, I guess, as Larry Sharp can be, I don't know if you've made your case for them voters to change their party registration. I'm being honest and upfront with you as a would-be friend, and I think you and your fellow Libertarians have to answer that big question.
No, I hear everything you just said, Keith. I think you were 100% correct on everything. I have no qualms with anything that you just said. You touched a lot there. So let me try to answer some of it. For your last point about speaking the good word, you're 100% correct. That's why you have to have messengers like Larry. You have to have people out there speaking the word, because if they're not, then no one's going to hear it, obviously. The other side of that is what you said about people want to be able to listen, right? And there's a lot of people that don't want to listen. And that's not even the people. I'm talking media. In this case, I'm talking gatekeepers. I'm talking other people that could help to spread the message, that give a platform to a Democrat or to a Republican because they get that automatically. I've been trying... I'm going to call someone. Well, I won't call them out. I've been trying to get a hold of a radio station in the capital region. It's a very popular one, to try to get Larry an interview. They've had every single Republican candidate on there, and they don't return my calls. This is my point about listening. It's not just the common folks. It's all the gatekeepers that you got to get to listen. And they're already set in this default mode that it's just a Democrat or just a Republican. And it doesn't even occur to try it. I'm not saying this is malicious. I'm saying it just doesn't occur to people to think of a third way. So you have to have someone that's ready to even think about that. And like you said, people are too comfortable. So they're not necessarily looking for a third option. And then to your point about riding the coattails, unfortunately, you see a lot of third parties do that. A third party is just a way to vote for the duopoly and feel better about yourself, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. And that is unfortunate as well, because that's the illusion of choice. That's the illusion of change. And when you have a Republican endorsed by the Conservative Party, or when you have a Democrat endorsed by the Working Families Party, and people just vote for the same person, but on a different line, you're not actually voting for change. And unfortunately, that seems to be how third parties are utilized in New York State, at least.
Can I ask in closing, your platform without me being unduly a bad guy, what really, if you are insisting, come on, third party, what realistically are you going to do differently for the people, different from the major parties? Have libertarians really grabbed people by their invisible lapels and said, we are here for you. We are different than the major parties. At least give us a chance. Have you really made that case to the electorate?
That's a good question. And the answer is, I think people are too distracted with things that don't necessarily, they want to control others. This is my opinion, Keith. I think people want to beat other people down. I think we want to punish the left or we want to punish the right. And we haven't thought about what's really good for us. And I think that's why libertarians specifically have trouble reaching people, because our message is, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to leave everybody alone to do what they want to do as long as they're not hurting anyone else. And I think, unfortunately, those people sleeping that you're talking about, they want to punish somebody. So they say, oh, yeah, well, that's all well and good, leaving people alone. But some people, they need something, and I got to give it to them. You guys aren't going to do that. So I think that might be the answer, Keith, is we just want people to be what they want to be. And I think people need to change their attitude and maybe want that a little bit more than trying to punish the other.
He hung up.
That is the end of Keith. He is out. Thanks for the call, Keith. I appreciate it. And we'll get back to more calls and comments after the break on WYSL, a free solution. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, Keith listens to us enough and calls in enough to know that when there's music, we're going to break.
Voice of Liberty bumper sticker. There's a great selection to help you show your love of God, the Constitution, and free and safe schools. Here are just a few available.
Now, conceivably, Larry could personally still stay registered as a libertarian, but he could, if they let him, he could run as a Republican, right? It is possible to be registered one thing but run as something else, but it's not usually the norm or the case.
Like tees, hoodies, drinkware.
Right. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Exclusive WYSL Mount Worstmore shirts, hoodies, and mugs depicting our 4 worst presidents. Guess who's front and center? Shop the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business.
If he wanted to get in on the primary, do you have to do the same thing with petitions, or is it just okay? And how many votes do you need on petitions?
Achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love.
Yeah.
Big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers.
We don't have the infrastructure.
I can tell you, Bob Savage and myself are two staunch conservatives that, we wouldn't hesitate to vote or sign a petition for him to be on the Republican primary. I think if more conservatives could understand Larry and hear him, I think they would believe in him. Because I don't believe in the Republican Party. I mean, there's too many rhinos out there. Republican in name only. And the backroom deals, it's got us fed up, my wife's fed up. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Saturday 9 to 4, Avon Feed and Supply.
Stand by last spot.
The hill just west of the circle.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
We are back on WYSL, a free solution in Rochester. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Craig Miles. I am in for Larry Sharp. He is out begging our masters, our Lord and masters, for us to be able to be on the ballot so that you can vote for Larry. That's how it works here in New York State. You can't just run. You got to ask permission to run. And in order to do that, you got to do a lot of things and spend a lot of money and get a lot of people to waste their time just to get you on the ballot. Time better spent with things like what Keith was talking about, which is spreading the message of libertarianism or getting Larry to events. No, for an entire month and a half now, we've had to be preoccupied with petitioning just so that New Yorkers can have a choice. And that, in my opinion, is wrong. Logic chiming in here. I think people are concerned about the audio. I think people can hear me. If you can hear me, let me make sure. We've had some audio issues. So if you're listening to the stream, pop in there, Logic, and let me know that you hear me, because I do enjoy talking to you. So Keith was talking about libertarianism earlier, and what's our message? Our message is accountability. I'll go. We have many messages, libertarians. Essentially, Larry will tell you that libertarianism is being as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't make other people live the way that you want them to live. And that gets into what Keith was saying as well, which was lead by example. So libertarianism is personal responsibility. It is individual responsibility. It is holding people accountable for wrongdoing. Also for mistakes. That's not punish them for their mistakes, but it's also, well, you made a mistake. Maybe you're not the best guy or gal for this job. Maybe we got to look into things, and see if we can make things work a little bit better. So accountability comes into libertarianism, because if you have someone that's causing a lot of problems, causing a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, that's bad. That's where libertarians would say that's time for action. If there is a victim, it's time to do something. Now you look into it, say, what do I do about that? In the Cuomo nursing home case, he sent all those people to their deaths in the nursing home. At least there would have been an investigation under a libertarian regime, if you want to call it that. That's kind of an oxymoron. But an administration, under a Larry administration, first of all, under a Larry administration, COVID would have been handled a whole lot differently than it was. Would have been a lot more individual choices going on and a lot fewer of dictates every single day from some guy in Albany. So you wouldn't have had all those nursing home deaths in the first place. But in that case, if there had been something like that, where someone went and sent a bunch of people to their death, knowingly or unknowingly, let's look into it. Let's see how it happened. If it was something that could have been avoided and that people knew was going to happen, well, now maybe we have some things to look at. The issue with the nursing home deaths was those got hushed. Those numbers got adjusted. They got moved around. We didn't talk about those numbers. We don't talk about Bruno, right? That's the TikTok and Kanto. Yeah, we don't talk about nursing home deaths. That's how we do it in New York State. We don't talk about anything that the government has done that made things bad. I'll talk about gun violence. I mentioned it earlier in the episode. Gun violence. This state has the strictest gun laws in the country, besides maybe California. I'm not familiar enough with their gun laws. I know they're tight. So it's toss-up. Could be New York, could be California. Why do we have so many gun issues here? If gun control was the answer, Buffalo wouldn't have happened a couple weeks ago, because we should have fixed it at least 18 gun laws ago. That's not the issue. We're not addressing the root of the problem, which is people that want to kill a bunch of people. How are we going to stop people wanting to do that? That's the question you should ask. Because if they don't do it with a gun, they'll do it with a pressure cooker. They'll do it with a van. They had an attack in Times Square a couple years ago. Guy ran a van through a bunch of people down in Times Square. People will find a way to commit violence if they want to commit violence. So let's stop making people want to commit violence. Or if they are violent, let's figure out what to do about that. We've had a lot of schools. We've had a lot of shootings these past few weeks. Down in Texas, we had that issue, right? And as the story always goes, this guy was on a list. This guy was known. He had problems. Why all of these fail safes failed? They didn't work. So we're going to ask the same agencies that messed up this time to fix it? They're not going to fix it. They messed up this time. How is more of that going to help anything? People say, well, you got to stop the guns in the first place. Then they wouldn't have to protect against gun violence. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess if you didn't have any guns, yeah, there'd be no gun violence. But it's not gun violence. It's violence. It's wanting to kill people. It's wanting to commit murder. Why do people want to do this? Is it the state of the world? Is it the state of the country? Is it the state of the state? Is it something personal? We don't ever have that conversation, though. We don't look into the minds. All we say is lone wolf killer messed up. No, another problem, another one of them. Why do we have so many of them? What is the cause of this? What is causing these people to do these things? This is this applies to everything. Larry says it all the time. Let's get to the root, not to the branch. Every one of these issues, you got to dig deeper than the issue. You say, well, what are the factors that led to this? What is involved in this? What things caused this? What can we do differently to make sure that these things don't happen again? And again, we'll go back to the accountability situation. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the Texas mass shooting. I'll admit, I don't know a lot about what went on down there, except what I've seen on a couple different news stations. And I do know there's been questions about police, about how they handled the situation, and then also how they handled the aftermath in the mistakes that they made. I don't know what mistakes were made, and I don't know what mistakes were attempted to be covered up. I do know that there seems to be a question about that, about whether they acted correctly and about whether they changed their story. Again, accountability. That should not be suffered. I don't know what happened down there, but say that was the case. Say that they made a mistake, and say that this was anything. I'm not even talking specifically in Texas. Let me give you a hypothetical. Say that hypothetically, you had a police department that did not act right. And then they, in the aftermath, after things went horribly wrong because they did not act right, they chose to do whatever to cover it up. I don't necessarily mind that they made mistakes, and nobody knows everything. Nobody can go in and handle a situation properly, quote unquote. Hindsight's 2020, right? So you can't necessarily be angry with people in their mistake. You have to be angry with people when they try not to pay for that mistake, try not to be better, try not to look into it. That's what accountability is all about. That's what we need more of. Why did this happen? What happened? How do we make sure it doesn't happen? That is a free solution.
Good show. And I like you mentioning Encanto. Have you seen that movie?
Time is God's greatest gift.